Hi, everyone. It's time for some COUT time with the sermon crew today. Welcome, welcome. So what do y'all want to talk about?
The Sunday service.
Yeah.
It was a great one. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I was going to say I have my tea today. I'm really enjoying some cinnamon toast tea is what it's called. But
I'm
go
on
ahead,
the green. I'm on the green tea again.
Green tea?
Mm-hmm. No, thank you for sharing your story in the Sunday service. I really enjoyed listening to it and the other parts as well. Because, transition from A to B is so universal and happens every day in small ways and in big ways as well over the long run in our lives, right? So
yeah, I really love that. Like it's always interesting listening to our own things. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if you feel that way too when we listen to our sermon for the week. And sometimes I'm like, man, I said that. That's good. Like I have those minutes, or I was like, oh, yeah. Like, but I agree with you. Like those fundamental changes, those daily habits, like cultivating those healthy habits, is what results in monumental change over time. I think Susie just posted a meme in the Facebook open forum, TFU open forum, that looked like somebody, like, this is what it looks like today. It's kind of just somebody walking on a straight path. And then under it says, this is what it looks like for the year. And it's somebody walking up a mountain almost. I thought that was a really cool depiction and graphic of what it feels like when you just continue to persist in the direction of your goals. And it's something Kanisha mentioned in the intro as well, like, those just the scheduling and getting up early and those things. Yeah, I completely agree. It's a whole other way of life. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's important that with a lot of what you guys talked about was a lot of what we move through is a transition. And for me, as I've gotten more of what I would like to think of like a veteran in this work, is that I stopped resisting the transition, because it was the transition that I had realized that needed me to have the most surrender and to just trust and be in the flow instead of fearing that I was going to be lacking something. This was something I also talked in the intro, was when I was releasing something and transitioning out of it, we tend to believe that we're losing something, but in truth, God is always going to replace it with something that's even better and more in alignment with you. And so once I really started to have non-attachment to those things and really allow myself to transition in a flow, it is what I finally understood when Jeff and Shaleia talked about that this is a dance with God. And I was like, what does that mean? I don't understand. And it was really just the flow of things, instead of seeing this ascension journey as a stop and go. It's really allowing us to be in that flow and be in that dance with God, and allowing it to be easy and gentle. Not that a lot of transitions are always easy and gentle, but if you make the choice, it can be that way, and you can really start to receive what you need from it, instead of being in that space where you thought, like, I'm doing something wrong, I'm messing up here somewhere. And I know that this is a big one for a lot of people, where they'll be in the flow and they'll be in this high vibration, and then all of a sudden it feels like they're doing something wrong and they're in these lower vibrations. It's really just the transition period of uprooting what no longer is in alignment with that level of love that you're moving into. So having that awareness has been a real big game changer for me in my ascension journey, because I'm recognizing that it's not just a linear, it is up and down, and sometimes you have to walk through really crazy terrains, but at the end of the day you're gonna get through it with God. And so I've really been able to receive this journey with a lot more gratitude, instead of trying to fix me or fix things that I think are broken. It's really getting to know me on a deeper level.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I really love that, like what you brought up, Kanisha, with that sometimes it feels you're going backwards on your journey, but in truth, you're just going deeper into love or to the next level. And it also like happened a lot on my journey too, and also to help clients like through that. And it's especially like when we make this choice, right? For example, for harmonious union, that the blocks are coming up, or we are like heading towards a goal, right? The blocks are coming up, and to not give up, because like ego tries to pull you down also in the old vortex, right? You really have to be persistent, like with your choice. And I remember Jeff saying in the class that when ego gets loud, you can know you're on the right track, right? To see it as a motivation instead of allowing it to control you. And yeah, it's really about, like Anisha also said, like letting go of this control and surrendering, and the fear you would lose something because you lose just what you are not, and to trust like the big teddy bear, like from God, right? And letting go of the little one. And it's such an honor, like every day, like also for clients, right? That I'm the honor to support them, and also as a map practitioner, like through big changes and transformations on their journey. And can just share, like for me, it was the big one, like with letting go of the vortex environment I lived for 40 years in, and to let go of the house, and like also like family members and friends, right, which you knew like for a long time. And suddenly, like when you love yourself more, that sometimes ego tries also through them kind of to pull you down, or but it's safe to make just a new choice. And like Anisha also said in the intro and outro, right, like it's okay to not be aligned anymore, to make a core choice, like a new one. And yeah, also love when Jay and Chrissy, like we're sharing that in the sermon, right, that it's safe to follow your core choices and to build a foundation for your twin flame union, and especially seeing how God supports you the whole journey through your twin flame, right? Even if they are not there physically yet, but you feel supported, kind of cheerleaded by God and your twin flame along the journey. And it's such rewarding, right? The pain is forgotten. It's same when you give birth to a baby, right? The pain is gone when the baby is there, kind of like what you were moving through. So I'm very grateful to just focus on the goal, right? And like salvation, kind of like how you see it, like remedy, or like for the whole planet, right? For humanity, and to enjoy the journey. Yeah, that's what I feel for now.
Yeah, that was a big shift for me, actually, to like receive Jay's support in this space, because I was, so used to and accustomed to doing things on my own through like the majority of my career. I mean, like if you count college, which we did a lot of Army stuff in, it was like 24 years, right? So 24 years of basically doing it on my own. And it was a lot, but like then I'm like, oh, I can go on these appointments on my own. And it was like I talked about, it was kind of just like a major like struggle bus of an experience. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then that's when I realized, oh, I need to receive God's support. I need to choose to be open to receiving support, and that it's not a waste of Jason's time to come with me to these things. And he was more than willing to do so, which I felt so loved and so like supported when I chose to receive that and be open to it. So it's like a twofold thing. It's being open to receiving support through God and through others, and also in your twin flame union, supporting your twin flame in what they're going through and moving through and loving them through it unconditionally, and knowing that it's just something that they're needing to move through in order to come into union with you and move into, harmonious and perfect union. And so like it is something to look at and see if your behavior pattern has you closed off or shut down to receiving love and giving love as well. Like you want those to be flowing always, and because it's a partnership, it's an equal flow going on there, and knowing as you do those things, you're loving yourself always, right? It always feels better. It always feels good. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Jason coming with me to all my appointments. No one was really, they were all very surprised to see him, to be honest. But he was always there. And then we're doing that now too, as we move into, our life is really shifting. You can see there's a background difference here. I know you guys all know, because I see all of you guys all the time. But like, we are in our new home and we've moved, and I think we have one more sermon that we banked just because we wanted to make sure we were completely grounded before we did more sermons. But like, yeah, we're here and we're grounding in, and now everything's shifting really heavily into Divine Dish and Map, which we love. And so there's a lot of Divine Dish going on around here, and a lot of, that's that's what Jason is doing now. He's doing some DD stuff, and like yeah, I think it's interesting to see the shifts happen, and I'm having fun. I enjoy going with him to the grocery store or to pick this up or pick that up. I find it very fun and relaxing to just be with him and watching that shift occur. So yeah, a lot of new things going on over here for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that is coming up to me is that there's never a transition or a shift that God isn't already preparing you for. There will be situations that come up that He will start moving you through in order to prepare you for the transition and the shift. And it reminds me of a class that I just watched this week where Jeff was talking about how his refrigerator wasn't working, so he had to go downstairs to the refrigerator. And he was like, and it sucks because I have to like get up and like walk all the way down there. But if I think about it and I'm going to be receiving a bigger home at some point, the distance of the refrigerator might actually be that distance. So it's actually preparing me to like get used to having to like move from here to there to get what I want. And I was like, I resonate with that so much, where there's times that we will be put through something, we're like, this sucks. But then it's like, well, we're actually calling this in, and it's us preparing us so that we can truly receive it. Because sometimes we'll call something in and not be able to receive it because we weren't prepared for it. And so I find that instead of looking at this as, I'm having a transition or a shift, that I'm starting to see it more as an adventure and doing something new with God. And it's making life a lot more fun instead of like, I'm always having to heal something. That's where I was for the longest time. I'm always having to heal. I'm always having transition. And that could really start to create resentment. So I had to learn how to really receive what God was bringing into my life from a place of curiosity and more of like a childlikeness instead of trying to control.
Oh, I completely resonate with that for sure.
What is also coming up for me is a class, the group coaching class that we had with Jeff and Shaleia. Not today's, that was amazing, but actually the last one, where they talked about having a toothpick, and basically cutting a tree with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
you cut a tree with a toothpick. Yeah, that was a very. It reminded me of the story of Jim, that persistence energy, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Jim's story is also amazing in Life Purpose class.
Yeah.
In the future, there's supposed to be maybe a movie on that one. It was mentioned in the class, so it's going to be a good movie. But yeah, with a toothpick, you can cut a tree if you are persistent enough, right? It's just the same as like water can move through rocks and like big mountains, so to speak, if it's just persistent enough. And same is true with our Ascension journey, is that even if you have a toothpick, which by the way, the mirror exercise is not a toothpick, it's just amazing proper equipment, right? Yeah, even if you have a toothpick, we're gonna cut the tree eventually.
Yeah, it's all about it's persistence and maintaining that intrinsic motivation for the goal that you have, and it must come from within, right? Like you have to have an intrinsic desire to see it through, and that's where I believe faith comes into play. Like having faith on that intrinsic desire and persisting in that direction is so critically important to anything that we're doing, especially when you're doing tip of the spear spiritual work like unionists are. And it's just something you want to always remember as you're going through those challenging times, is that the mirror exercise works, this too shall pass, and love always wins. Like it's true. It's true. It truly is.
Yeah, and I think what you're bringing up there too is that the deep importance of having the spiritual community as we move through these like life transitionings. It's been such a huge support to be able to move through this with my Ascension coach, with my friends that I have created in this community, because it can tend to feel a little lonely, especially as you're moving away from what we know our world to be and really coming into alignment with Christ consciousness, there's almost this like you feel foreign to everyone else in your life. And the more that I really started cultivating that space, I started to learn a lot about what I believed about family, like I'd mentioned. And that actually was keeping me from allowing myself to open my heart to my spiritual family, allowing myself to share myself with my spiritual family because of the programming that I'd received with my own biological family. And once I had healed through that and really allowed myself to open up in that space, the amount of abundance that came through supportively with just new friends or people that I was helping just by sharing my story. And they're like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm actually moving through this too. And then they would reach out and we would create that connection and be able to help each other heal. Like having the spiritual community is such a huge foundation and part of the pillar of harmonious union. And so as you allow yourself to open up in that space and really start to connect and share with your spiritual community, I've found that it's really helped accelerate my my journey in ways that I hadn't really allowed myself to receive previously. And so know that you never have to move through a transition or an upset alone. This was something my twin flame had actually said to me before. We're like, you never have to move through an upset alone. You're only choosing to do it. And Chrissy had touched on it. It's like you've done life so long by yourself that you're like, oh, I can actually receive support and help here. Like, this is weird. But learning how to do that more and more, you'll be able to start to really open up and receive when God moves through other people or moves through your twin flame, and allow that to be a loving process. So it's been, it's just been very eye-opening for me in the last few months to really move through transitionings in a different mind space than what I had before. Definitely from a space of lack before. Now it's definitely a space of abundance and just realizing that you're always truly supported and you're never, ever abandoned by God. And lack isn't anything that you have to hold on to.
That was really good. I was just processing it.
That's good. That's what I was
Like,
listening. I've learned to allow the space for processing instead of feeling like I need to fill it with words.
that was really good. Like that was I was just like, oh, that was good. Like, you know, over there preaching.
I know what came to mind. I was like, I should probably do a sermon sometime. God speaking. Okay.
Yeah, when we are headed to a new, I guess what I want to share first is I got to hang out with someone from our community today that visited me. Felix, you know, is like a volunteer for the Church of Union. And, you know, it's just amazing to see how we are growing together as a community and how as a collective we are moving through a transition as well. And it's happening everywhere, right? Yeah, it's really manifesting in the physical. And it's just something different to really be in the same room, you know, and yeah, it's amazing via Zoom, you know, technology is pretty cool. But there's something amazing about the physical as well. And yeah, it's an amazing.
Fabian. I've always enjoyed our physical meetups. I think that it's so powerful, and it's something that we always want to do our best to attend when we're given the opportunity to, especially if, you know, it's hosted by Twin Flames Universe, and Jeff and Shaleia will be there, like Sedona or New York or Toronto. You really want to you know, choose in your heart, you know, claim that. You can claim that now, because we will have others. And like, you know, you want to claim your space there, your spot, and start looking at what you might want to do to manifest that and transition into it. And one of those things is like the finance. There's a new finance course being created that Jeff has created for free, that is being, you know, worked on. it's a phenomenal like lifestyle shift in regards to how, you know, you function with your finances. I think it's an incredible opportunity for us all to like just skyrocket into new vortexes of energy with our finances. And I'm really looking forward to that hitting the streets. It'll be a while, I imagine, because they're editing it, but it's something to always look at and claiming your heart. Like Kanisha said, moving your mindset, shifting your mindset from like this poverty energy to this abundance energy. And it's all about perception and like what you choose to see in any given experience. You can be in the experience and see the negative and constantly focus on the negative, or you can look at the experience and see the positive and focus on the positive and just accept you're moving through the negative or the unpleasant experience, whatever it might be, into the positive. And as long as you do the mirror work, you'll find nothing but love in the whole situation, right? And so like I just completely agree that there's a physical, tangible component to this. This is why I love unionism, is because like there's practical application, there's embodiment, there's actually physically doing it, and part of that is physically coming together. And that's something that we have the desire and vision in our heart to do, is to be together, you know. And we do that through visualization. Like your meditation today in the sermon or in the service about, you know, taking time to envision where you're going, envision your future, envision what you see. For me, I see us all together. I see us, you know, coming together. I see us going to church together, like physically seeing each other at church. I see us drinking tea time together and hanging out and discussing things, like having some donuts, you know, whatever, like whatever, some DD, you know, muffins or something. Like, you know, I see all of that happening. I choose that. And like, it's a beautiful thing to hold that in my heart and that desire in my heart. And I know all students and all unionists who desire that are holding it in their hearts as well. And so therefore it will manifest because we choose to create that. And that's powerful. And I agree with you. We ascend together as students. We always have, you know, and so we can see these transitions now and these transformations and see that we're transitioning together. We're moving together as one because we're one student. And it's a pretty phenomenal thing to reflect on and see how far we've come in such an incredibly short amount of time. It's quite surreal, to be honest, if we reflect on where we started and where we are now and where our community is going. Pretty epically awesome, to be honest, in my opinion.
And you're right, it is about like that visualization. It's a lot of how we head into that direction, is being able to visualize ourselves there. And I think that's something I had a big difficulty with coming into this journey, was being able to visualize and dream bigger for myself, and to be able to see myself living my heaven on earth. Like that just was very a foreign concept coming into this work. But now it's just like, it feels uncomfortable to not dream bigger and to not allow myself to move into the next transition or to the next vortex, because you get into that stagnant feeling and it just feels so uncomfortable to stay there. And it, to me, it surprises me for those who naturally just stay there, that they don't actually shift out of a job that they've been in for so long or whatever it is, but it's just because they aren't in the awareness of that that's possible for them, or how to even do that. A lot of people don't have these tools, and that's why it's so important that we do allow ourselves to share this work and to have these sermons and to tithe, so that it can be shared with the rest of the world, so that not everyone's stuck in this belief that they can't have their ultimate dream or their ultimate lover, and to really have their heaven on earth. That's, to me, it's really surprising how fast this work has grown and how it is starting to become mainstream. I've been working with Chrissy for 5 years, and I remember the first time she told me like Twin Flames will become mainstream in like 5 to 7 years, and I was like, this woman is on something. There is no way, like no one's talking about this, and now it's in magazines and all over the place. I was like, all right, last time I ever doubt Chrissy. Like, it's great. Like, but
There's no doubt in my mind it's something Jeff and Shaleia said. Be like, it's gonna be mainstream soon. I'm like, all right,
all right, but it really
I saw, like I felt it, I saw it, like I knew there was truth to it, and truth always shines through, right? And I
Absolutely.
believe, when we started, I just knew, I felt it was true. I
Mhm.
felt it was true. And so like, when you have that truth in your heart that you know it's true, there's no reason to hide or hold back or pretend it's not, um, like, don't be in the twin flame closet, so to speak. Like, you know, talk about it, be okay
Mhm.
with it. It should be an everyday normal conversation, because it's a lifestyle. And when you choose that, you're going to find, like Fabian just said, you're going to find people, like attracts like. You're going to find people who align with what you're talking about and what you're about and what you desire and what you love, and will meet you in that core value. We all here as unionists have a core value of twin flames, and like that being our lifestyle, and purifying our consciousness into God consciousness and choosing that. And like, I'm all about that, and I'm all about anyone who's choosing that, regardless if they use the word or phrase twin flames. It's just, are they choosing a God-centered life? Are they choosing, a life full of thriving and abundance? And you can find these concepts everywhere. Like, I'm a big Napoleon Hill fan. I love how he writes things so simplistically. I love how he presents things, and a lot of what he presents aligns with life purpose class and the practical application of these visualizations and imagination, because your brain doesn't know the difference. And so when you choose to embody your harmonious twin flame union, when you realize you have it within you now, and you choose to visualize it and embody it and see it and feel it and be it, it's magnetized to you because you're choosing it. That's why the inner work is so incredibly important on this journey, because that's where it all is. It's all within you. It's all what you see. So weeding out these things and persisting on any kind of thoughts you're having that aren't in alignment with love, and saying no to those thoughts, and really dissecting it and choosing to move through it. It's life changing. Absolutely life changing.
Absolutely. And that is actually part of the process of transitioning too, is some of these thoughts that will come up. A lot of people are like, why am I having these thoughts? And it's like, well, it's showing you what is still in your consciousness in order to use the mirror exercise, heal it, let it go, and move into that new transition. For me, I was having, just recently, I was having a lot of like intrusive thoughts of where I was having arguments with my twin flame in my mind. And I'm like, why? And once I really felt into it, I was like, because this is part of the belief system that I hold on to with watching my own parents. They were always fighting. And so I was like, I have to let this go and choose harmony in this place in order to have harmony in this place. But it's showing me in my consciousness what I still believe and hold on to. And in order to transition into my harmonious union, this is something I have to let go of and not continue to do. And so that was a big awareness for me of, sometimes we have these thoughts and we think we're doing something wrong or we're not seeing something, but really it's what's the feeling that's coming up for you in that place, and allowing yourself to just move through it, not attach to it or identify with it.
Yeah, it's beautiful what everybody like was sharing, like, and also you are not your thoughts or your feelings, right? And to know the truth that we are already in perfect union with God and truth, like, what's the truth? That we are already here, that we just remember it, right? That every time we hear the truth from Jeff and Shaleia in the classes, yep, that's the truth, because we are already, that we know it deep in our heart, and just remember it. And also what Chrissy shared from Napoleon Hill, or it's even from Jesus, back then, when 2 or 3 people come together and share God's word, then it's this mastermind what you create. And it's also what we've had in Sedona, for example, when we come together in the physical as a community, is then big shifts are happening. Right after Sedona, I was able to let go of my 40 years where I was living before, and the big transition. And it's huge what happens then, right? And also to learn that every moment is perfect, and to not judge it or yourself, and see it from a different perspective, maybe. Like, I also loved from Fabian, like in the meditation with feeling into it, I saw Christmas, right? Like God wants our eternal honeymoon, and to envision kind of this innocence or curiosity, like Kanisha said, right? To see the journey like that with everyday fresh eyes as a child, and take God's hand, and what kind of lesson do we learn today? And right, to not see it as this heavy thing, and knowing that you're not your feelings and stuff. And yeah, it's especially doing it together. I also envision that, right? I see myself in Michigan, for example, right? And to live with my community there. And it's happening. It's so cool to see it now. Chrissy and Jay did it, right? And kind of like crowning the energy there. And of course we will join there. And at least like next year, like when the meeting will come.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for this potential meeting next summer, whenever it might be, you know, it'll be in divine order, of course, but like I can't wait. So looking forward to it. Yeah, like I just like Fabian said earlier, there's nothing like us coming together, you know, us really calling that in and spending time together and doing that. And soon we'll have it weekly instead of, you know, once a year, once every other year. And it's the same when we have the fundraiser every spring. I just think it's just an incredible opportunity for us all to come together and commune and be around each other and talk and connect in a deeper way. I feel like we're all calling that in a much deeper new level lately.
Actually, I had a dream that we were going to be meeting up probably like, I want to say like 6 to maybe 9 months ago. I had a dream that we were all, Fabian is very clear, and Oceana was very clear to me in this dream. And I had a dream that we're all around this campfire, which I think was brought up in the conversation. But we were all around this campfire, and Shaleia had her baby on her hip. That's what I remember. And she's talking and she has a baby on her hip. And when I woke up, I remember thinking, like, they did say that we weren't going to have a meetup for quite some time. So, like, I just kind of let it go. But then I want to say a few months later, it was brought up. And I was just like, it's safe to trust your dreams sometimes. They're just leading you down something. And in my dream, I was with my twin flame and he was there with me. So that was something that I started to allow myself to truly visualize as our next meetup, truly having my twin flame with me. And even in Sedona, I had an opportunity to invite him, but I did not know he was my twin flame at the time. He was just someone that I was like, he would really love this. And I was like, but I'm not going to invite him. I'm going to just go by myself. I'm used to doing things by myself. It's fine. So, and now that I'm here, I'm like, oh my gosh, she would have been the best person to go with on that trip. And it's all good. But I'm learning to follow the guidance God gives us. Like, it is that one consciousness and we are calling it in. And sometimes God will move through an individual that has that peace. And it's important that we are sharing that peace, because we are sharing God there. But yeah, I thought that was really cool that when it was brought up, I was like, all right, like, these are really important. And I've had very profound dreams of having my gurus visit and helping me with my finances. I think I had a dream probably 4 months before moving out of my old apartment, where Jeff literally walked me through my old apartment and all that, like, I wasn't seeing these things that were wrong with it, but he was like, this is not okay. This is poverty. You need to move out of this. And I'm just like, he totally doesn't like my apartment. Like, that's how I felt. But he was really helping me see that it was time to transition into something more. And now that I'm in my newer apartment, it's just like, yeah, absolutely. This is actually much more supportive for my life purpose. It's more supportive for my family. So really being able to receive through any way that God is talking to or communicating to you through your gurus or through your community is really important to feel through it and not just be like, oh, it's just a dream, or it was just this thought that I had. It's always God communicating with you. And the more that you are open to receiving it, the stronger connection and communication you have with God, the less doubt and fear you have in this journey. You're just like, it's just a knowing, okay, it's okay to move forward here. So I went on a little tangent, but there we go.
Reminds me of when you feel a sense of overwhelm. It's just a lack of a trust. And yeah, you can fill yourself up with all of that trust, and voila, the overwhelm will dissipate. Something I have on my mind is, you know, as we are moving into this next vortex together, there is maybe some kind of uphill battle, or like an uphill climb, you know, and sometimes challenging also you get a taste at other times of where you are headed, right, to keep you going. And it is important to support yourself fully in that moment where you are climbing, and don't let go of the vision basically that you have. That will really motivate you to keep going. And maybe this was something that Jeff and Shaleia experienced when they met each other in the physical for the first time. I'm just guessing here, but I remember that Shaleia was drinking what was it, like the coconut water to comfort her, and Jeff was very present with his feelings, as he was traveling, and this is a really good metaphor for me when it comes to approaching something new and connecting with something. Like it could be a person, right? It could be your twin flame. It could be your next level of success as well, right? And just know that once you connect with your new vortex, then all of that burden that you might have experienced before, or that stress or whatever, that, let's say, all of these negative emotions that you heal along the way, they will dissipate as you reach it, And in that moment where Jeff and Shaleia connect and have eye contact, all of that was forgotten,
Mhm.
I love that story from their book. Yeah, like thanks for that, Fabian. That was beautiful. Yeah, I agree. Like when you move into a new vortex, sometimes you're kind of like a new baby, really, and like you're fumbling around, and like it's a little messy from my experience. You're running, full charge, 100 miles an hour in a direction, and like that's all really important when you enter that new vortex. So when you're going to switch vortexes and you feel it, this is like one of the challenge I feel. You got to get over that hump. You don't know when you're going to get over the hump, but like you'll eventually get over the hump. You just keep going and trusting the process, and you'll be stretched. Like right now Jay and I are pretty stretched, and like we're working through it and figuring out like a new schedule for us and what that's going to look like and all those things. But also it feels really good at the same time. That's what seems like kind of odd about it. Like you feel super stretched, but it feels really good. And because you're moving towards something new, and you're moving towards something new, and like I guess at this point I trust the process because I've experienced it in little ways or different ways until now, and now we're experiencing it in this way. And I agree with you. Like when you get in that new vortex, you're running. Like there's no other way to explain it, right? But it's worth it because you're moving into your heaven. You're moving into more heaven. You're moving into more good. You're moving into more peace. And we're all working towards, perfect union with God. That's our goal. And so like there's more God for us. There's more love for us than we can ever possibly imagine. Yeah, but there are times where it does require you to run. 100%. I concur. Yeah. Feel that.
This is the only place I will run in. I don't physically run, it won't happen.
But you will run intrinsically. Yeah, I'm with you. There's very little running for me. I like walking. I'm doing a lot of yard work right now. That's enough exercise for me. A lot of yard work going on. But like, yeah, like I'm with you that my running days are most likely over. So all right, team. I feel like we're coming to a close here. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say before we sign off?
Just trust the process. And I always say this, one of my favorite things about this work is that our gurus 100% show us how to do that. And they're always moving through something where they're transitioning into a bigger home or having a baby or having all their soul pets. Like it's always such a beautiful gift to have someone lead the way and be able to physically show us how to do that, and to be here and hold space and pretty much hold our hand through the process. And it feels, I guess it's just, for me, it's been probably one of the biggest blessings to have in this lifetime, is to have people show us that, and to continue to just be so authentic and vulnerable in that space for us, and to teach us how to do that. So just trust the process and trust the work. And I mean, you have everything you need here to be supported and to really call in everything that your heart desires.
Amen. I think that sums it up. You should just drop the mic again. Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you on our next round. Be blessed. Bye, everyone.